In the bulletin, National Security Minister Kandapa and Bugri Nabutu appear before leaked audio tape committee after Inspector General of Police refutes allegations of providing poor leadership to the service. Also coming up this morning, Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, together with her two deputies, sued for contempt for disregarding an earlier injunction suit on limited voter registration. Meanwhile, opposition National Democratic Congress (NDC) has accused the Electoral Commission of voter manipulation, and voter applicants of communities along Volta Lake in the Pru East District of the Bono East region lament over challenges in accusing the district of voter registration centers. And later in business, Governor of Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, requests the banks to rebuild capital buffers to support operators. A while later, on the international front, 2,800 dead and 10,000 missing in deadly Libya floods. We have details of these and other stories coming your way in a jiffy. You should stay with us. Well, Nabu will appear before the Bipartisan Parliamentary Committee probing the IGP leaked audio tape. On Tuesday, the IGP, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, took his turn refuting allegations that he is the worst IGP. Chairman of the committee, Samuel Atashia, has been explaining why the National Security Minister was also invited.
I know on top of my head that the matters concerning the National Security Minister will be in camera, but the rest of them will take a quality decision. One of the witnesses, Superintendent Asari, said he appeared before the NIB. So if he said so, then how does that synchronize with what we are doing here and the evidence? That's what we are attempting to find out.
More on this, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, has refuted allegations of providing bad leadership to the police service. He contends that his record as the best IGP speaks for itself, described the allegations by his accusers as unfounded and without a shred of evidence. Dr. Dampare was responding to questions at the Bipartisan Parliamentary Committee probing the leaked audio tape.
Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, the IGP, took a stand before the committee that has been probing the plot on an alleged leak audio tape to remove him from office as the #1 police officer in the country.
Made all these allegations in order to cover up probably the shame associated with what they got themselves involved in the first place. And I, an innocent person, focusing on my job, working in concert with my team and all commands across the country to keep the country safe and make it to be at peace with itself. I've been asked to come and answer to these allegations, which are wide, baseless, and I feel in my spirit.
He described himself as the best IGP in the history of the police.
Probably my brother wanted to say I'm the best and he missed it. Because the records are there for everybody to see. The beauty of mankind is that everybody has an opinion and he can express it in any form or shape. But that has not changed the facts.
A retired Chief Superintendent of Police, Hamza Yakubu, believes that although the IGP, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, appeared to have acquitted himself well during the committee hearing, the committee must go further to uncover the full truth behind the scandal. He emphasized that those accusing the IGP have displayed a high level of confidence in their claims, hence in-depth analysis is required for comprehensive understanding.
I've been following events as they roll on. With regards to the appearance of the Inspector General of Police today, I think he carried himself very, very well. He answered questions very well, maybe to the satisfaction of the committee. That notwithstanding, I think there is still more an extensive interrogation to be made, especially with regards to the evidence of Commissioner Mr. Alex Mensah and Superintendent Mr. George Asari, who have opted to be more open when they are given the opportunity to testify in camera. And so let's wait, we'll cross fingers and see what would happen in the coming days as the committee would direct. In-camera hearing would give us a proper insight into exactly what it is that all these Hulabalu are about. Because listening to the two of the Commissioner, Mr. Mensah, and Superintendent Mr. Asari, one could just see that they were so confident about what they think they have at the tips of their fingers. And so, given the opportunity, maybe, unfortunately, will not have an insight to what will take place in camera. But that notwithstanding, facts would come out or falsehood would be exposed in camera that would enable the committee to come out with the exact truth in the whole matter, whether it was a design by somebody to get the IGP out so he could be appointed, or it was a genuine desire to ensure that policing in this country is conducted as professional as every citizen of this country expects.
Away from that, voter applicants in communities along the Volta Lake in the Pro East district of the Bono East region are lamenting over challenges in accusing the district registration center at Yeji for the limited voter registration. They contend they have to deal with the long distance cost and risks.
Residents of remote communities along the Volta Lake, including Domiabra, Batokope, Jatakpo, are concerned about the high cost and risk of traveling from their villages to Yeji. Boat fares are high.
Market day no, Yeji 50 Ghana.
It will cost one person at least 140 cedis to travel to Yeji. Aside that, it's the risk involved in the lake travel, feeding, and even the guarantor system. It may even happen that you may not get the chance to be registered the same day. EC must listen to us and follow the previous steps. This makes it financially burdensome for those without a Ghana card to travel to registration centers with their two guarantors.
We cannot come to Yeji for the registration exercise. We can't risk putting our children in boats on this dangerous lake all alone for voter registration. The EC must come to our local station like they did in 2020.
Traveling across the Volta Lake, particularly during the rainy season, is a significant concern due to the risk of boat accidents, which have claimed 15 lives this year. The approach will not help us, so we are begging the EC to listen to us. The lake has become highly dangerous. At least 15 people lost their lives in boat accidents this year. We can't afford to send our wards on that journey. Residents find these circumstances unfavorable, especially for parents who must sponsor unemployed teenagers to Yeji, where they may be forced to stay overnight. Majority of the children expected to take part in the exercise are unemployed. How do they expect them to raise money to pay for the boat fare, their feeding at Yeji, and also that of their guarantors they need? The nationwide exercise is scheduled to end on October 2.
The Electoral Commissioner and her two deputies are to be served with a contempt notice today following an unsuccessful attempt on Tuesday. According to the counsel representing one of the plaintiffs, Nick Papo Samoa Ado, the Electoral Commission declined to accept the writ on Tuesday, citing their presence at a meeting as the reason for not accepting the document.
The Electoral Commission cannot pretend that it is a creature by itself. It is a creature of the Constitution. It is a creature of law. Its officers are subject to law. In this country, the legal process is that when you are served with a process that is seeking to injunct you from doing something, until that process is determined by the court, you cannot act as if you are a law unto yourself. Now, recall the situation when Dr. Before in the NDC presidential primaries sued the NDC and asked that the primary should not come off and added or served the EC. What did the EC say? The EC said that until that injunction application was determined or withdrawn by Dr. Before, it was not going to go ahead to determine or run the elections of the NDC. So what has changed? Why is it that the Electoral Commissioner, having been served with the originating motion on human rights and an application for injunction by the applicant, has decided that it will still go ahead with the, with the limited registration exercise? The only recourse left is to cite her for contempt. And so the three principal executive members of the commission have been cited for contempt. For them to come and explain to the High Court why they should not be committed to prison for being aware that there's a pending injunction application and deciding an election not to comply with them until the injunction application is determined. When they were going to be served this afternoon, they claimed they were in a meeting. And so the bailiff should come tomorrow at 9 a.m. So you should be interested as to what will happen tomorrow at 9 a.m. They have a duty to accept the process and to come to court. The only thing that can save them is to what? Purge themselves. It is what? Hold on until the injunction application is heard.
The opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, is accusing the Electoral Commission of manipulation in the limited voter registration, warning that failure to call the EC to order could lead to severe consequences. Party Chairman Johnson Asiedu Nketia addressed a news conference in Accra.
Democratic Congress, the first day of the limited voter registration has been fraught with challenges. Party Chairman Johnson Asiedu Nketia expressed concern about the challenges specific to NDC strongholds.
Over 90% of centers were not able to print out the required start of the day printout across the country. The breakdowns are politically selective. There is not more than 2 centers where these breakdowns are happening, which are in the stronghold of MPP. All the rest are in the stronghold of NDC.
He raised concerns about the court's handling of the party's injunction application and the EC's recent stance on court applications.
This same judiciary can find time to grant injunctions against people who intend to demonstrate against corruption at Bank of Ghana with alacrity. And yet, that same judicial system cannot find time and space to grant such an important injunction. We wish to emphasize that the EC's decision to proceed with the limited voter registration exercise today, despite being served with 2 injunction applications from the courts, contradicts an important precedent set by they themselves during the 2023 NDC presidential and parliamentary primaries.
For the NDC, the issue could have severe implications.
The intervention-happy ECOWAS countries, they better act to stop civilian coup d'etats from happening. They shouldn't close their eyes on this flagrant disregard of the principles of democracy and rule of law, only to jump in when somebody overthrows that system.
To some business stories now. Local business operators are being encouraged to revitalize, to add value to their products in a bid to unlock opportunities in the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA. The AfCFTA aims to create a single market, eliminate trade barriers and foster inter-African trade.
Countries have signed on to the African Continental Free Trade Area, with 47 countries ratifying the protocols and actively working towards implementing the agreement. Stakeholders in the Upper West region have been discussing the National AfCFTA Policy Framework and Action Plan. A senior advisor responsible for monitoring and evaluation at the National AfCFTA Coordination Office, Alhaji Yakubu Yusuf, urged Ghanaian businesses to capitalize on the opportunities presented by AfCFTA.
We should be able to generate the products that qualifies you to trade in AfCFTA. Those who are producing shea butter, those who are producing honey, those who are producing granite paste, those who are producing the smokes.
An enterprise support and trade finance specialist at the National AfCFTA Coordination Office, Divine Kutoche, echoed the call for local businesses to leverage AfCFTA to expand the activity.
We need to start training them how they can start packaging their product. We need to start letting them know that you don't produce because that is how it is done in Ghana. You now have to produce to have an international concept in mind.
The Chief Director of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Peter Mala, highlighted the region's vision of becoming a prosperous model region driven by responsible resource utilization and equitable opportunities for all.
By enhancing our trade ties with Africa, we can harness the untapped potential of our economies, drive sustainable growth, create jobs, and ultimately uplift the quality of life for our citizens.
As Ghana and other African nations gear up for the implementation of AfCFTA, the message is clear. Businesses must adapt and thrive in this new era of economic integration.
More on business, the Ghana Union of Traders Association in the Ashanti region has threatened to close their shops due to customs officers harassing them. Addressing a news conference in Kumasi, the association called for an urgent government intervention.
With the coming into force of the paperless system, we all heard the Vice President, Dr. Muhammad Bawumia, telling the whole world of the removal of the customs barriers across the country. However, in the case of Ashanti region, the reverse has been the case. Since last year till now, there has been constant harassment and intimidations on the Accra-Kumasi and Takoradi-Kumasi route. On the Accra-Kumasi route, one has to contend with the Bunsu and Kubasi barriers. Beyond these two, there are now what they call the regional and national task force, all operating in a duplicative manner. The same applies to the Takoradi-Kumasi route beyond the Avian-Kwanta barrier. Goods with duties duly paid and cleared at the port are many a time arrested by the task forces of customs, leading to extortions, delays, re-examination, which result to heavy penalties slapped on owners of the goods. This has led to collapse of several businesses and relocation of others out of the region. What is worrisome is the fact that we pay the same duties as our counterparts in other parts of Ghana. We therefore do not see the reason why we should be subjected to such horrific conditions. We are therefore, by this press conference, giving the government 2 weeks ultimatum to stop these intimidations and harassment, as the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, will have no option than to call for closure of all shops in the region in protest to what we consider discriminatory and a clear agenda to collapse businesses in the region.
A really unfortunate development on the international front. More than 2,000 people are reported dead in Libya after a storm triggered devastating floods. Much of Derna, a city home of 100,000 people, is underwater after 2 dams and 4 bridges collapsed. The death toll from the city alone stands at more than 1,500, according to a minister. At least 10,000 people are missing, according to the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. The storm is also affecting the eastern cities of Benghazi, Sousa, and Al-Marj. Medical supplies from Egypt have been flown to the Libyan city of Benghazi to help survivors of the floods. Another Egyptian plane is on hand to help evacuate some of the many injured across the storm-stricken region. Libya's Tripoli-based internationally recognized government has announced that it's to give more than $400 million to help rebuild Derna and Benghazi. And that's how we end the morning news this morning with me, Godwin Asideba. Don't forget to always get interactive with us across all social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. The show continues with Roland Walker, Bella Mundi, and Nashako. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Hi, good morning.
Fine. How are you?
Not bad.
Great. Thank you.
Loving the all black.
Yeah.
It stands out. There's something about it. Yeah.
Black is my favorite color, actually.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
It's beautiful. Anyway, how's your night been?
Oh, it's been okay.
Yeah?
It's been fine.
Were you going around yesterday to check how the registration exercise was going?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you
Someone
didn't?
else did. Yeah.
But have you had some concerns being addressed by people around you?
Just people talking about challenges that they're experiencing to get themselves registered. I mean, largely from the Volta region, the Ashanti region, and other places as well. Yeah.
I see. Well, interesting one.
Yeah, and it actually rained heavily yesterday, and shockingly, around the Kaswa Wager stretch, I mean, all the people on the other side of the stretch had to move to the other side, like when you're coming from Kasoa to Accra, because the other part turned into a pool of water and no car could actually use that particular stretch. And it's actually really disturbing. And when you actually go there this morning, you will see that there are heaps of refuse and sand that has actually been gathered around that portion. And you will find no one other area to, you know, come and either take the sand to the other side of the road so that in case there's another rain like this, it wouldn't have to create floodings and all of that. So I think this is a concern that whoever that is responsible for that, that is watching us, should actually take an action on.
I used to see a lot of Zoom Lion workers back in the day, and they weren't just sweeping the rubbish off the streets, but they'd also collect the sand, you know, from the sides of the road, especially. I don't see that as much anymore. In fact, I can barely count the number of Zoom Lion workers that I see on our streets.
Yeah,
a few years ago, you'd see them, so many of them. You know, and I have a few in my area that used to work there, so they'll always be excited when they're going to get their, I think it was 50 cedis or 500 cedis then. I don't remember exactly how much, but they were always looking forward to going to work. She stopped going to work for some reason and said, well, they are not paying them anymore. Things are not going as expected. So I'm really wondering what the agenda to keep Accra and the rest of Ghana clean, what the agenda really looks like at the moment, because we're really not doing enough to keep our cities clean. It's sad.
I think it also raises concerns on the dredging of the Odo drain and the accusations around the former sanitation minister. I mean, looking at the dredging when it started, the amount of money that was claimed to be involved in all of the activities, and now we are hearing another story of the minister doing this and that. I don't know, but...
yeah, but if the minister, for some reason, is having issues, that shouldn't stop the work from going on.
We are talking
about
the thing is,
even before her issues, was there really work going on? Because we were told again that Accra will be the cleanest city. We're still here. The rains
in 2022, or was it 2020?
And it's exposing us. Exactly. It's exposing us. Nothing is being done about the situation.
We should look into the absence of Zoom Lion on the streets, because before you mentioned it, I think I hadn't really paid attention.
Paid attention, right?
Yeah.